Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. So if you remember from last week, it was a bit of a compliment for this episode. I brought on the 2005 8582, the 502 version. So today I'm drinking another 8582. Again, a very famous recipe for those of you that didn't watch last week. The 85 at the beginning stands for the year that this recipe was developed. The 8 stands for the average leaf grade, so it's leaf size, so 8 is towards the high end, so we're dealing with a fairly big leaf recipe, and the 2 stands for Munghai Tea Factory. And so this is the 801 production, so it is the first production from 2008. It has also been Taiwan stored. It's also from Marco, so thank you Marco for sending the sample. I think it's a fun little comparison to take a look at these two different teas. I have infusion 2 and 3 in front of me, so we're going to take a quick smell. I've just freshly made these right before I hit record on the camera. So the aroma is decidedly different from the 2005, which I have next to me right here. It's higher, it smells very sweet, more floral, richer in maybe some respects, some dry grains, maybe even some berries in there. I'm going to take a drink. So that infusion is actually very sweet, very round, and surprisingly soft for a tea that's not even quite 10 years old. Interesting. I'd say that in comparison to the 2005, it focuses a little bit more on higher notes. I'd say it sort of has like a buttery floral thing going on. Surprisingly smooth, surprisingly rounded. We can take a look at the liqueur here, which is brewing up a little bit lighter, as we would expect, compared to the 2005 version of this tea. And we're going to keep on going. And I want to do at least a infusion of the 2005 just to provide a direct comparison as well. So here we go. One thing I like about these 8582s is they sort of have like a rounder profile. It's not quite as sharp as some of these smaller leaf recipes. It's really I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but it has like a depth of taste that really just encompasses a lot of the mouth. It sort of coats your mouth with a lot of sweetness. This tea, despite being 9 years old, also does that. So the aftertaste, even if the taste itself is a little bit bitter, the aftertaste that sticks around for a while is largely very sweet. So I appreciate that about these teas. And it tends to be a fairly full aftertaste too. Cheers, guys. Okay, so we're getting more of the a bit more of what I expected. So there's a little bit more immediate bitterness that's happening. It's still floral. There's a bit of that herbalness that you get in the 2005. It's not quite as pronounced. The 2005, depending on the particular brew, is extremely soft and oily. This is also soft. It has a little bit of that oiliness, but I feel like it's not quite as present. And again, it's much more high note focused. In some ways, it's a little bit more complex than the 2005. I don't necessarily consider that to be a positive or negative for that matter, as you would expect some of these floral notes, especially if the complexity is sort of focused on the higher note range. It's more a product of just the tea darkening and mellowing out. So going to do a infusion with the 2005 before my Tetsubin water cools down too much. Take a smell of this. So woodsy. Also, I'm getting a bit of fruit. like camphorated fruit a bit for the 2005. Here's the 2008. So richer, more focused on higher notes and floral, perhaps. So, pretty strong pungency to this. Definitely more punch. Overall, a fair amount sharper than the 2005. And it's interesting to have this 8582. I've had a Kunming stored version of a 2008 8582 before too. I'd much prefer to drink this tea over that. At the same point, I think the 2008, I would also prefer to age it a few years. Let's go back to the 2005. I think the comparisons will become a little bit more obvious moving back to this tea. So yeah, definitely darker, a bit of a darker depth to it. Some of those darker, I don't want to say stone fruits, but sort of these darker fruits are coming into the tea. So you can definitely tell that it's a bit older. Let me continue to drink. It's softer, it's rounder. I think the 2008, especially having it in comparison now, has a bit more dryness to the overall experience. It's a little bit more astringent. The form of the tea is definitely in there for both of these to continue aging for a while. I'd be definitely more okay with drinking the 2005 as of now. Yeah, so rounder, sweeter, you have to deal a lot less with bitterness or any dryness for that tea. Going back real quickly to the 2008. And to be clear with you guys, none of these teas are terribly expensive teas, at least at this stage. We would expect teas like this to sort of go up over time, which makes them popular targets for investors. So the price can go up or down, kind of like the stock market. That comparison has been made many a time. So the 2008 version, I believe, can be had for under $50 easily. And I'd say it's a decent target if you sort of like this broad, soft, oily profile that still has a decent amount of punchiness for aging. So if you are in the game of pu'erh aging, I think these are both pretty good targets. I believe the 2008 version does sell for a bit less. It may even be half as much as the 2005. So I think they're both worth looking at depending on what you are after. Oh yeah, that is much more bitter. So it's sort of the bitterness of this tea wasn't really as obvious in the first steep that I had on camera, but it really has built up. It has a stronger sharpness, a stronger floral pungency, which I think I've mentioned before, and it dries out the mouth a little bit more. I can still enjoy the tea. I don't think it's something I would choose to drink terribly often, but the structure of the tea, I think, is fairly proper. Anyways, I think that just about concludes this episode. Let me know how you guys liked this sort of comparison. Let me know if there's any other factory recipes that you would like me to take a look at. Happy to take any and all suggestions. And thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Marco for providing these teas. It's been a lot of fun, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.